In order to make sure that the honor flight is a successful experience for the veterans, Guardians go through training. Bill Richards explains more.
The training is really twofold. It's to let the veterans have a good trip because these people know what's going on. Kind of like teaching, you're one day ahead of the kids. So we're going to take the people here tonight through a trip. We're going to talk through the whole experience of what they're going to see, what it's going to be like, what our expectations are, what they're going to experience with the veterans, what they need to know, what they need to do, and also to kind of prepare them, get them excited. The other part is to get them fired up, and they walk out of here ready to go again. So there's a part to train, but it's also to get motivated. I have had veterans, and I know Jim has too. They walk through the airport, they call their wife and say, I can go home right now. The trip has been, this is it.
It is the Guardian's responsibility to take care of the veterans throughout the trip. Each Guardian is assigned 1 or 2 veterans to help. This starts with meeting the veterans at the airport and helping them to get through security. Once on the trip, the Guardian's responsibilities can range from answering questions, helping out of or onto the bus, or pushing them in a wheelchair. We had a chance to interview some veterans about their expectations for the long-awaited trip to see their memorial.
I'm looking forward to this. I've heard so much about it. I think it's going to be a wonderful experience. I've wanted to see this for years and never did it.
I'm ready to go, and I think it's going to be a great day. And I appreciate getting called to go.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I've never really been to Washington to look like this, and I'm sure I'll enjoy it. I have a good guy here to help me.
The veterans now board the plane for the hour-long flight to the Baltimore airport. Once they land, they are treated to an unexpected homecoming to their memorial. Military ground crew line the path, as well as hundreds of Americans, all clapping and thanking them for their service. The veterans get ready to start the tour. Bobby Richards, Honor Flight co-director, explains why she and her husband Bill got involved in the Honor Flight program.
The way we got involved in the Honor Flight program was my husband Bill won an award from the VFW, a state award, and we went to the convention in Dayton in January of 2007. One of the speakers that evening was Earl Morse, who's the gentleman who founded Honor Flight. And when we heard him speak, the hair on our arms stood up. And it was like, we've got to do this. We've got to be involved. So we pretty much stayed up all night and talked about it the whole way home, and talked about it all the next day, and knew that we were hooked and we were going to get involved.
The day began with a tour of the newly constructed World War II Memorial, a monument some veterans have been waiting for over 60 years. Bob Dole, chairman of the World War II Memorial Committee, explains more about the project.
Thank you. I mean, I'm the chairman of the Memorial Committee, so we raised the money. It didn't come from the government. It came from a lot of these veterans and their families who visit here. Government gave us $5 million. We raised $195. We got $17 million left to take care of it. And most every veteran you see put in $5, $100, $50. So we just thank them for all their help. I mean, we're just saying thank you. We're not saying goodbye. We're going to hang around as long as we can. The average age is about 85, but just a way to say thank you to a lot of brave men and women who were once young.
Thank you for your service.
Elizabeth Dole takes time out of her busy schedule to explain why it is important that we honor our World War II veterans.
I love to do this because I have so much respect and admiration for the men and women on these buses. Really, you know, what they've done for America is a legacy that is incredible. And every now and then you have someone say, well, now, what's my legacy going to be? What have I done that'll be remembered? Think about what these men and women pass on to their children and their grandchildren. They literally saved America and the world for freedom. And I respect them so much that it just gives me great joy to be here. I had a brother who was in World War II in the Pacific on the Saratoga. And then, of course, I met and married Bob Dole, who was in Italy, and who ended up 4 years in the hospital after his wounds in Italy. And I think this memorial should have been built a long time ago. I remember a group that said, you know, don't put it on the mall. Save the mall. The memorial should not be on the mall. And I was furious. I said, Bob, you know, who saved the mall? The men and women of World War II. There wouldn't be any mall without the heroic activities of our men and women in uniform in those days, and the people who were supporting them back home. So God bless each and every one of them. I have so much respect for them.
And this memorial was raised privately, and the total raised $195 million. You take off $5 from the federal government, so you got $190 million from private sources and interest, and that's a lot of money. But it's the most visited memorial in D.C. It's won all kinds of architectural prizes, but above all, it's won the hearts of the American veteran and their families. Well, if you don't have a little pull at your stomach, I don't care how many times you've been out here, when you get out of the car, particularly in the evening when it's kind of twilight and the lights are coming on and the fountains are working. I brought 30 old World War II veterans here the day before we opened it officially, who were still in Congress, and there wasn't a dry eye in the place. I mean, let's face it, this is a very emotional experience for these men and their families. And it's just a wonderful thing to say hello to somebody and look them in the eye and say thank you for your service.
For many of the veterans, the changing of the guard at Arlington National Cemetery was extremely moving.
Aye. Aye. Forward. Forward.
Some of the veterans were interviewed about their experiences during World War II. What better way to learn about history than from the men and women who lived through it? Many veterans have rarely talked about their experiences, even to their family.
I was with the 13th Armored Division. Started in California and Texas, France and Germany and Austria.
I had the distinction of landing on the Normandy beach twice. When we went across the channel, I landed at Omaha, which was I landed at Utah Beach, and they wouldn't let us unload. They said we was at the wrong beach, so we had to sit there overnight. And the next day we went to the Omaha Beach and landed. And then we went up through Germany and Belgium and Holland and on up into Germany. We were in Friedberg when the Germans capitulated. Came home on the Queen Elizabeth, and I was over there 20 months. Had 328 days of combat, went through 4 major battles, and I was in the medics. I was a staff sergeant in the ambulance platoon. Had 10 ambulances and 23 men under me, and I took care of my ambulances up on the front and carried medical supplies to the front. And that was pretty well my job the whole 328 days.
I was with the 99th Infantry Division, and we went to England, then France, Belgium, Germany. And then after the war, I was a gopher for some officers that were writing opinions for the trial, and then that was over. I came home.
I was in Africa, Italy, Sicily, and France. Made the invasion of southern France in 44. Drove truck a lot. Drove for the company commander, too.
I went over as a replacement, thinking I was going to be an anti-tank gunner. Ended up as a litter bearer. Carrying bodies all over the mountains of Italy, and went it from Anzio all the way up. And when the war ended in Italy in early May, we were right at closed the Brenner Pass and shut off a lot of guys, Germans that were trying to escape.
I landed the second wave on Leyte in the Philippines. 3 hours after I landed in the Philippines, I was awarded the Bronze Star for demolishing a ship machine gun nest.
It was hard at the beginning because the sailors all thought we were in there looking for husbands until they accepted the fact that we were there to relieve them for sea duty.